Am I the only one losing my mind over this? The very second Dante lays his eyes on Britt, he completely loses whatever is left of his rational mind. He does not assess the situation. He does not look at his son to see if he is safe, healthy, or calm. No, Dante goes into full-blown, aggressive, out-of-control cop mode. He genuinely believes that Britt has kidnapped Rocco and is holding him against his will, despite all the evidence pointing to the contrary. He just lunges at her. He physically attacks a woman who is already suffering, already sick, and already terrified. This is not the Dante we know and love. This is an outrageous writing decision that is completely ruining the character arc of a man who is supposed to be the moral compass of the police department. And Lulu. Do not even get me started on Lulu. What in the world is she doing in this scene? As a mother, your first instinct should be to grab your child, hold him close, and make sure he is okay. But what does she do? She half-heartedly tries to pull Dante off Britt, but at the same time, she is screaming at Britt, interrogating her like she is a hardened criminal. She is standing there, watching the father of her child physically manhandle a sick woman, and she is just adding to the absolute chaos. It is a heart-wrenching betrayal of Lulu's character. She knows Britt. She knows Britt's history. She knows about the Huntington's disease, and she knows that Britt, deep down, has a heart. But instead of being the voice of reason, Lulu just fuels the fire of Dante's unhinged rage. Meanwhile, poor Rocco is standing there, watching his parents turn into monsters, right before his eyes. He is screaming at the top of his lungs. He is begging Dante to let her go, repeatedly shouting that Britt did not kidnap him. He tells them, with tears streaming down his face, that he went willingly, that Britt is the only one who has been protecting him, the only one who has been honest with him. But does Dante listen? No. Dante completely ignores his own son. He treats Rocco like a confused hostage suffering from Stockholm Syndrome, rather than a young man who has made a desperate choice to protect someone he cares about. It is absolutely sickening to watch a father invalidate his child's feelings so completely. And then comes the moment that made me scream at my television. Dante is not listening. He is trying to forcefully grab Britt, trying to drag her away, and Rocco, this brave, terrified boy, throws his own body between them. He tries to shield Britt from his own father. The physical scuffle escalates, the pushing starts, and then, bam, Britt is shoved backward. She loses her footing, and her head slams violently against a solid rock wall. The sickening crack. I could literally feel my heart stop in my chest. Britt collapses to the ground, completely unconscious, unmoving. The absolute horror of that moment is burned into my brain. The silence that follows that dreadful sound is deafening. You can see the exact moment Dante realizes he has gone too far, but it is too late. Rocco drops to his knees next to Britt, his hands shaking, his face completely drained of color. He is completely shattered. This boy has been on the run, facing terrifying pursuers, dealing with his own trauma, and the one person who kept him safe just got critically injured by his own father. Rocco looks up at Dante and Lulu, and the look in his eyes, it is pure, unadulterated hatred. I have never seen a child look at their parents with such disgust and fury. Dante has the absolute nerve, the audacity, to stammer out that it was an accident. An accident? Are you joking? You do not aggressively put your hands on a sick, vulnerable woman, initiate a physical struggle with your own teenage son, and then cry accident when someone gets critically hurt. Rocco screams right back in his face, telling them that they didn't come to save him, they came to bring violence. He tells them they are the ones who hurt, the only person who sacrificed everything for him. And you know what? Rocco is 100% right. Dante and Lulu are the villains in this scenario, and I will not hear otherwise. Then, the writers decide to pull off the most unrealistic, yet dramatically insane twist. Dante and Lulu, in their panic, turn away for just a few moments to call 911 for an ambulance. They are fumbling with their phones, arguing with each other, completely distracted by their own guilt and incompetence. And what does Rocco do? He takes off with Britt. While his parents are looking the other way, this desperate teenager manages to drag an unconscious grown woman away from the scene. How did he do it? Did he steal a car? Did he flag down some mysterious, shady local who helped him load her into the back of a truck? We don't know, but he vanishes into thin air. taking Britt with him. The absolute disrespect to the fans is that we have to wait to find out how he managed this miraculous escape, but what he leaves behind is even more devastating. He leaves a message for Dante and Lulu, and it is a heart-wrenching betrayal of their family bond. The message is crystal clear. He will never come back. He will never forgive them, as long as they treat Britt as the enemy. He is cutting them off completely. Dante and Lulu traveled all the way to the Virgin Islands to bring their son home, and instead, their own toxic, violent behavior pushed him further away than he has ever been in his entire life. Let us talk about the sheer medical terror of Britt's situation right now. This is not a joke. Britt Westbourne is already suffering from the advanced stages of Huntington's disease. We already know she has been deteriorating, her symptoms are getting worse, and she doesn't have her proper medication because that evil Ross Cullum swapped it for poison. And now, on top of degenerative neurological disease, she has suffered a massive, violent head trauma. The swelling, the bleeding, the potential for permanent brain damage. She is in a critical life or death situation, and she is in the hands of a terrified teenager. What is Rocco supposed to do now? He cannot take her to a legitimate hospital. If he walks into an emergency room in the Virgin Islands, the authorities will immediately flag them, and Dante and Lulu will be right back on top of them, not to mention Ross Cullum's goons. So Rocco is going to be forced to dive deep into the criminal underworld. He is going to have to find some back alley black market underground doctor who will treat a severe head injury for cash, no questions asked. This poor boy, Dante and Lulu, have literally forced their son into the dark, dangerous underbelly of the world just to save the woman they attacked. And where does this leave Dante and Lulu? Standing there in the dirt, staring at the empty space where their son just was, completely consumed by the crushing weight of their own actions. They have to live with this. Dante has to look in the mirror and know that his uncontrollable temper, his complete inability to listen to his own child, is the reason a sick woman might die, and the reason his son hates his guts. Lulu has to live with the fact that she stood by and let it happen, failing to protect both Rocco and Britt. The guilt should absolutely eat them alive, and frankly, I hope it does. As someone who has invested decades of my life into these characters, watching Dante regress into this violent, unthinking brute is a complete mess. We are supposed to believe this is the highly trained detective who can de-escalate hostage situation. Give me a break! The writers are destroying his credibility just for the sake of cheap drama! And they are destroying the beautiful, complicated family dynamic they could have built. They could have had a moment of understanding, a moment where they realized Britt was the hero of this story. But no, they had to go for the most traumatic, devastating outcome possible. Think about the long-term consequences of this absolute disaster. If Britt wakes up, and that is a massive IF right now, she might be the only one who can talk Rocco down. Knowing Britt, even after being attacked, she might try to convince Rocco to forgive his parents, because she knows what it is like to be separated from family. She might be the bigger person. But what if she doesn't wake up? What if she slips into a prolonged coma because of the head trauma and the Huntingtons? If Britt lies in a hospital bed, unresponsive, Rocco's hatred for Dante and Lulu will cement into something permanent. He will never, ever forgive them. This is setting up a generational rift that could take years to repair on the show. Rocco is looking at his father not as a hero cop, but as an abuser. He is looking at his mother not as a protector, but as an enabler. The psychological damage done in this one single scene is astronomical. I am pacing around my living room just thinking about how they are going to write themselves out of this corner. Will Dante have to resign from the force out of guilt? Will Lulu have a complete mental breakdown realizing she lost her son all over again? Let me dive even deeper into the psychology of what just happened, because I cannot let this go. Dante's reaction wasn't just anger, it was a complete manifestation of his own deep-seated trauma and insecurities. He has spent weeks feeling utterly helpless while his son was missing. He has been running around Port Charles, arguing with ADA, Justine Turner, relying on criminals and fake cops like Cassius Faison for intel, and feeling like he is failing as a father and a detective. When he finally saw Britt, all that pent-up frustration, all that toxic, boiling fear just exploded. He didn't see Britt Westbourne, the woman who was sick and trying to survive. He saw a punching bag for his own failures. And he took it out on her in the most unforgivable way possible. This is a complete character assassination. And Lulu. My heart aches for what they have turned her into. Lulu Spencer, the daughter of Luke and Laura, the woman who has fought tooth and nail for her family, reduced to a screaming bystander who couldn't read the room. She should have looked at Rocco's face. A mother knows when her child is in distress, and she should have seen that Rocco was terrified of Dante, not of Britt. But she was so blinded by her own desperate need to rescue him that she completely ignored the reality of the situation. She failed Rocco today, just as much as Dante did. The betrayal Rocco feels isn't just about the physical violence, it's about the emotional abandonment. His parents didn't believe him. They didn't trust him. And that is a wound that will not heal anytime soon. Now, the race is on. Dante and Lulu are no longer just searching for a runaway teenager. They are hunting down their own son who is actively fleeing from them in sheer terror. They have to involve the local authorities now, which means Ross Cullen's network might get wind of it. They have turned a delicate rescue mission into a massive, highly publicized manhunt that puts both Rocco and Britt in even more danger. I am utterly appalled at the sheer incompetence. If Britt dies because of this, I will never forgive these writers. Never. I am tuning in tomorrow, but I am bringing my absolute fury with me. This is General Hospital at its most infuriating. And I am losing my mind